Hello, Lizzie here, and today I'm going to show you how to make the 4-seam purse with a popper or a snap fastener. And this is really easy because you leave it right to the very end to put your popper in. So what we have is the outside fabric, dimensions and everything are down below in description. There's your outside, and you need some lining as well. And just to stabilise the lining, I've got a little circle here. That's where my popper will go at the very end. Just a little circle cut with pinking shears, literally, that I've just put that on there. So just a piece of interfacing iron on. And on the main bag, I've actually put a piece of stabiliser all the way along, less 1/4 of an inch all the way around. That's just what I do. So right sides together, and you're going to stitch on one short end. So you're going to stitch those 2 layers together from here to here. Give it a good press and top stitch. So that's your first 2 seams. Couldn't be easier. So here we go. About a 1/4 of an inch. I wouldn't worry too much if you're a little bit out. I'm doing a back stitch to hold. And a back stitch to finish. And this is where you really might need to do a bit of ironing. So press those seams open. I'll just do that quickly here. You use an ironing board. And then all you're going to do is fold those over and top stitch along that short end. Like I said, that's your second seam. I love this purse. My top stitch is about an 1/8 of an inch from the top. Back stitch, but you don't need to, it's habit. And then just trim your threads, try and keep it nice and neat. Oops, there we go. So there's our 2 pieces of fabric joined together. Let's get them lined up. Okay, back and front. So we need to round these corners off. And now this is going to be the top of your purse here. So you could round those corners off. A good way is actually to put all 4 layers together, bring them all over and just cut around. Now you could do this freehand like me, or you could use, I don't know, the top of a bottle or something like that, where you get that little bit of a curve, but I'm just going to go freestyle. There we go, that's fine. I'll pick up my bits later. So they're all been curved off now beautifully. So the next thing to do is to get your lining fabric showing. So this is my lining fabric with the dashed lines, and I'm going to bring up this edge that I've just top stitched right up to the top here. Now it's about 4 inches from the top. I very rarely measure, but it's about 4 inches, so go for about that. And you could give that a good press. It does make a difference when you're pressing everything at each stage. So again, I could just bring my iron in and give it a little press. So you need a mat. I'm cheating. And then where this fold is here, just bring that up to meet that top stitched edge. Again, there we go. And I'll give it a little press. There we go. It's not too bad. So there is the this is how our purse will look when it's done. And there's the back. So the next stage, let's keep it so you can see. So the next stage is to bring the back, which is this part, over to the front. So if you watch me carefully, you're bringing that part over to the front, and where we just did that little press, you're going to fold that back on itself, and just get all those corners and edges to match up as best you can, and just get them lined up. I always use quilting clips. You can use pins. It's entirely up to you. Everybody's different, thank goodness. So again, bring all those edges together, and do take a little bit of time to get the sides really nice and neat. So again, I'll just move that one and pop it there. So I folded over the back to come over to the front. You saw that. So now this is the next part. So you're going to stitch from here all the way up to here and stop, back stitch, jump across, start here, back stitch, and come all the way down. Okay, and that is your 3rd seam. And your machine should easily take all these layers. And try doing this in other fabrics. Try faux leather. You'll have a lot of layers, but your machine should still be able to cope. So just come round the corner, take your time, back stitch, and then just jump across. I just literally pull it across. Little back stitch to start, all the way around that corner. You might want to take that in easy little stages, put your needle down, pivot and turn, but I'm just sort of going for it. And then come right down to this other bottom where all the folds are. There we go. Back stitch just to hold again. So just cut your threads, because where you've hopped across, that'll sort of pull all your fabric, so that's nice. Now we can leave those ends for the moment. If you want to trim any of that fabric, if you've got pinking shears, use them. If not, just your regular scissors will be fine, just to trim some of those layers down and around the corner as well. Pinking shears is really good for that. Or you could snip into those sort of corners to just take some of that bulk of the fabric away. I'll pick my bits up later. Come all the way down just to take some of that bulk away. So the other thing you can do is just to snip in where your folded edges are, just here. You can snip into those corners just again to take some of that bulk away. So once we've trimmed all our fabric down, all we need to do is turn it through. And if you notice, I haven't even done the poppers yet. So just turn it through. Just want to make sure that your outer fabric comes out. To be honest, you can just turn it around if it doesn't, and it's the lining. You think, oh, I've done that wrong. You haven't. You just need to turn it again. It's quite easy to do that. So there we go. And of course you need to get some sort of pokey tool to get those corners lovely and neat, sort of give that a push. I tend to use the blunt end of these are rounded scissors, so they sort of go into the corners really nicely. So let's get our pokey tool in there. And when you do it, you're going to have so much more time than me. I like to do this quickly for you. So there we are. So just turn these rounded corners out beautifully. Now before I put the popper in, what I could do is actually iron down my turning gap here, because that needs to be nice and neat. So I could do that now. Bring in my iron and my mat. So I'll give it a little iron just to keep it nice and straight, because obviously you've turned it through, so your fabric will be a little bit ruffled, but you can't really turn this purse through on the side seams like you might think. There's an awful lot of bulk going on. So if I get one end nice and neat and just pull that across, that should be fine. And to be perfectly honest, in all the other ones I've made, I've glued them. Don't tell anybody. Right, so let's just get that a little bit neater. There we go. Give it a steam. That's smashing. So you can either glue it like I do, or your fourth seam is to top stitch all the way around your pocket. So I would go from here all the way around, closing that gap and down to here. Okay, but for the moment I'll keep that open. Okay, let's do the poppers. So I use a rubber mat just to take the force of my hole punch. You can use card if you're using this sort of thing, or you could use a bradawl to poke through and make some holes. So the first thing we need to do is measure down about 1 inch. So let's just get my ruler in. So I'm using heat erasable pen here, so about 1 inch, and you want that to be in the middle, so I'm just going to give that a little mark. And fold your purse in half, give it a squidge so you've got a nice sort of crease there. And I know now that that's where I need to put my hole punch in. So I'm just going to make one little hole there. So the button, so the flat part of the button goes on the outside of your purse, and then you need either the male or the female part to go on the lining. So let's just do that. So that goes through there, and so your little spike is sitting proud, and you're putting the back on like that. There we go. It just sits there really nicely, and then you're getting your tool in. I've done this a gazillion times. And then you're just squidging that together. Now I always squidge 2 hands. There we go. So that's the first popper in like that, and this is heat erasable, so that little mark will come out. And then all you need to do is fold your purse over and find where your popper needs to go, and get that married up with your design. So let's just pop a little mark there. So there's my mark. So I'm going to put my rubber mat inside just to protect my purse. Don't want a hole going all the way through. Pop a hole through. So this time your button goes on the inside of your pocket. So just that first pocket, just find the hole. There we go, it's just here. And pop it through. There we go. And the little spike will come through all the layers of fabric really well. There's hardly any bulk there, you can just about make it out. And then you'll put in the other half of your stud on the top of it. So then you need to get your tool in, and that button sits again inside that dish, and it all gets put together. If you're not sure, just give it a little wriggle to make sure it's in. Again, a little squidge. I use 2 hands, so it doesn't really need it. And there's the other half of the popper in place. So let's just show you there. So there's the other half there, and there's the top half there. And all you're going to do is bring the two together. And there we are. There's your popper. Let's just get that thread out of the way. There we go. And there's your popper installed. So we've made the 4-seam purse. I haven't quite done that top seam yet. 2 dividing pockets in there. Absolutely gorgeous, with a popper. So I hope you really have enjoyed looking at this video tutorial. Don't forget to have a look at the other one with the magnetic clasp.